I want you to think back. Think back to the most difficult interview you've ever had. Perhaps you had a really difficult interview question, and maybe you knew that that question would determine not just whether you got that job, but your next career path. I had my moment 20 or so years ago. Out of college, I did LAN and desktop support for an IT organization in an accounting department for a major pharmaceutical company. Towards the end of that role, I got involved in, at the time, what was called process reengineering. Later moved on to another company, which became IBM Global Services, doing process work full-time. What I quickly discovered is I didn't really enjoy process work 100% of the time. However, I thought what the project manager were doing looked rather interesting. So I did probably what you all would have done. Got a lot of books, started reading as much as I could, attended seminars and conferences like this one today. I reached out to other project managers, looked at them, pinged them for advice, what they did, see if I really liked it. And I made my intentions, I made my desires known. A couple months later, I found myself in the director of project management office, in her office for an interview. She had a big office, nice big windows, picture dark, heavy furniture. And we started off a little chit-chat. And then she took off her glasses, rested her hand on the table. She asked me a question. Because at that moment, I knew, here it comes. This is the defining moment. She said, Nick, your project is behind schedule. You know what to do since you've been there. She said, what do you do? Do you help out? She goaded me along. She said, do you roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty? What do you do? I had to think about it. I didn't think the answer was so simple, and I knew this was the moment. I said, yes, I do help, but no, I don't roll up my sleeves. My job as a project manager would be maybe to find more resources or look at the schedule. Maybe down the line we could do tasks in parallel versus serial. I said, in fact, I would see my job to use the tools, use the methods to predict this problem that you mentioned and solve it even before it occurred. And I did end up getting that job. What do you suppose she was after? What was on her mind? Any thoughts, any ideas?
Leadership ability.
Leadership ability?
Problem solving.
Problem solving?
Strategy.
I'm sorry? Strategy? Could I make the transition to leadership? The skill set that got you good at being an individual contributor is not the same skill set for today's leaders. Could I make the transition? What is leadership built upon? I think it's built upon knowledge, your network. Some call it the art and science of project management, of leadership. And we see a lot of these terms, the technical PM. Some of you may even call yourselves that. That term makes me wonder, makes me question what it's all about. What is the technical part of project management? Is it that you're the expert in the technology of the project you're managing?
No.
Or is it perhaps that you're an expert in project management's methods and procedures? And that's where I think we need to move to. It's about the tools, the processes, the theory, but more importantly, it's about taking those and putting those into action. It's about knowing what to use when. You know, PMI gives us this PMBOK, which is the processes of everything and anything that you could use somewhere in your lifetime. That's not knowledge. That's a body of knowledge. Knowledge is knowing when to use what, where. You're going to rely on your network, your team. As leaders, you serve the team. You need to align their goals with your projects. A leader is enabling your team to bring out the best in that team. And of course, it's all about results, right? Let's not be wishy-washy. You're there to achieve results. What good is a high-performing team if they're not aligned to your project goals? And leaders, they lead people, not tasks. Project managers run tasks. Leaders run people, lead people, enable them, bring the best out of them. We look at implementing strategy through innovation. We all know what implementing a strategy is, but what is innovation? I say that's what you do. Innovation is creatively solving customer needs or requirements. Isn't that the definition of a project? When I first started out in project management in '97, I was in the audience, and I saw this big, bold, flashing 70%. How I hate that number, 70%. 20 years ago, 70% of projects fail. Where are we today?
70% of projects.
70% of projects fail. Why? We have all these new theories, these new methodologies. How are we still in the same place?
We don't know when and where to use them.
We don't know when and where. We've got new tools. Scheduling software has only gotten better. We're at least at the same level or better than we were before. Could it be the types of projects? Now I hear people say, oh, well, now our projects are more complex. They're more software development. They're this, they're that. I don't think that's the reason our projects are failing. If we look at it, and you looked and thought, well, what would we do if surgeries, picture 70% of surgeries fail? Thank God, right. What would we do? And the answer is, what would you do if you knew there was a 70% chance that surgery would be messed up and you might not come out alive? You're not going to go for surgery, are you? What might you do? I might self-operate if I were. I think I could do better than 70%. There you go. Operate on yourself. Now, of course, we can't do that. We can't get rid of the project managers. We need to change them. You manage projects. Projects are implementation of change. How ironic is that? Who needs to change? We do. We need to change. So let's start off. Why does the project manager have a job? Who can tell me why the project manager has a job? I'm sorry?
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Okay. So what a blame. One throat to choke, right?
Said herd the cat.
Herd the cats. And every time I ask this question, I always get those two. The throat, cats, make it happen, get things done.
Be successful, have good outcomes.
Everything else is the whats. You're not answering the whys. You're telling me what you do. We do this. Great. Why? Why do we have a job? What I ask is, give an example. One of the projects I took over, get onto this conference call, and I could hear as I'm joining, someone say, great, Nick is here. He's the project manager. He can take meeting minutes. Let's begin. It's more the what. The what does the project manager do? And I asked, was it that person's fault? Was it their fault that the only value that they saw that I brought to the table was I could take notes? I think we do it to ourselves to some extent. If that's the only value we bring to the table, that's the only value that people expect. I asked you, at the last project that you finished, you might have had all these lessons learned, these action items, these project plans, schedules, right? At the end of that, has anyone here ever taken any of those artifacts and sold them on eBay?
I didn't know there was a market. I'm curious now.
There's not. There's not. I've tried. I'm in sales, so I've tried. So we produce nothing of value, of hard value. One conference I spoke at, someone in the audience told me that in her organization, they decided to get rid of all the project managers. They decided they could do it without it. Now, I'm not suggesting that's the path we want to take, but you have to admit you could run a project without us. What's our value prop? It's not in what we produce. We could run projects without us. Our value prop is leverage. The statistical probability of success goes up with a certified, credentialed, experienced project manager. If you're running a $10, $20 million project, and it's more likely to succeed with you, that's the value you bring, nothing else. Everything else you just mentioned, that's just what you do. That's not why we have jobs. So we talk about why we have jobs. It's to help success. So then we have to look at, well, what exactly is success? Some may say it's the triple constraints, time, cost, scope, or maybe the quad constraints, throw in quality in there. Questions, comments?
Determine it up front, determine what the metrics are for how they view success.
Correct. It's did the customer get what they expected, when they expected. And if what they expected and what they're getting don't align, which, let's be for real, sometimes customers expect something more than they really paid for or they budgeted for. It's your jobs as project managers to align those two. Question?
So this is an interesting idea, and our company has taken it to another level and put money against it in terms of, because in healthcare, they call it, you know, we're moving to the value of the outcomes of healthcare. So
Sure.
it's not just how many, you know, doctors used to get paid on how many patients they saw. Now they get paid on the outcomes of those patients. Are they, you know, solving the patient's problems? Are they getting well? Are they getting sicker? What we've done with some of our clients, our very large clients, is put money at risk to say, if we do a great job and manage these metrics that you're looking at well, then we expect to exceed your expectations. But if we fall short, then we get less money, and you know, so we've kind of put our money where our mouth is around how we actually are getting paid to take this to a further step, because we want to have quality
Right.
of delivery and referenceability in the industry.
Well, I'm going to ask one question which will define success. We'll probably touch upon that. We'll get to that in a moment. When we're talking about expectations, we're not comparing those to where we are today. We're comparing that to where you're going. If you change nothing and the path continues, where will you end up? Did the delivery organization help future deals? I moved over to sales about 4 years ago, and it wasn't until that happened that I truly understood that one sentence and what that really means. You could read in all these business books about how expensive it is to go after new customers versus retaining customers, and it's just words in a book. Until firsthand, I could be selling to an existing customer, and they don't even want to speak to me. I can talk about the team, how great they are, and that's what we do when we have new customers. We talk about my team, the outcomes. We've done this before. You're in good hands. When it's an existing customer, step aside, Mr. Salesman. I don't need to hear from you. I can see what you did on the last projects. You help future deals. You help the deals that you may not even know someone is pursuing. That's key. And it really, really does come into play. How you deliver affects future work. I say it's more than just the destination. How you got there is important. The way I determine success, do both parties want to do business again? Take it for what it's worth. It might not be real scientific, but if you've managed your customers' expectations well, and sometimes you need to bring those expectations down, right? Sometimes you need to bring your delivery team's capabilities up. How much do you want to do business again? Someone was asking, how I got into project management. What I say is, however you got here, we're all here. I see a lot of engineers in the industry who are promoted, I'll put that in quotes, promoted to a project manager role. It's a different skill set. You may be a great engineer, that doesn't mean you're going to be a great project manager. Your challenge is going to be that you need to make that shift. You could be good at both, that's rare. But if you're not aware of the shift you need to make, it's not going to happen. Some of these, we've got, don't need project managers. How many of you started out in a group where the projects maybe are really small, He said, you don't need a full-time project manager, you do it. Will be your part-time job. Projects got larger, more complex, now you're doing it full-time. Years later, you're doing project management. Well, if you didn't do any of the groundwork, looking at project management, the knowledge, the theory that's out there, you're missing the boat. And I say your challenge is to re-educate yourself on what you could be doing. Maybe some of you followed a formal project management path. Started out as a coordinator, mentored with a project manager, took larger roles. However you got here, we're all here. You really need to take a look at how you're leading your team. I call it doing, directing, or leading. See a lot of doers. That's what that manager was trying to avoid, Chris. You could do the work of your project to keep it on track. What does that mean for you? It means you're going to be leading small projects that you have to know how everything gets done. So if you want to pigeonhole yourself, be a doer. You'll have small projects, more like a team lead. Directing is telling people not what you want, but how to do it. So you could lead larger projects, but they'll never leave your specialty. So if you manage security projects, you'll always manage security projects. If your method depends on you telling someone how to do their job, how can you manage work that you don't understand? That's where a leader is. A leader can manage anything. They're enabling others. They're bringing out the best in others. They're subject matter experts on their team. That's where we want to be. I used to work for an equipment manufacturer for telecoms. And the account team sold a very large amount of equipment, and they threw in the services. The customer said, great, we'll take it. However, we don't want to use your organization for services. Here's the partner we want, sub all the work to them. We're gonna talk directly just to them. And I happen to be the project manager assigned from the organization that they didn't want to talk to. So picture that as your first project with this company. And guess what the project was? What are all of our projects? High priority, high visibility, critical. Right. For the first 3 weeks, my customer, myself, and my team literally sat on a phone with our vendor while the customer and the vendor had their discussions. I was a fly on the wall. They didn't want to hear from me. Then it was a late Friday night, and this is back in the day when email did not come to your phone. Email went to your laptop or your desktop. Victor sent out an email. Says, I'm having trouble. His particular problem was he needed to reconcile some invoices this year versus next. The fiscal year we're changing. 9:30 on a Friday, he sends this email out, help. I happen to be checking personal email. Some of you may as well. You know, we happen to look over at work, looking at work, you look at personal. I saw his message. I typed him back. I said, Victor, I can help you. However, I need to talk to you. Here's my number. Give me a call. Now this is a guy, for 3 weeks, would not speak to me, didn't want to have anything to do with me. I got a call within 5 minutes. And of course, he's buddy. So Victor, it's not a big deal. We'll just shift some money, we'll do a CR, change request, and I'll shift money over to different milestones. We'll get it taken care of. You'll have the paperwork on Monday, no problem. Of course he was happy. But then I said, Victor, I solved that problem for you. Here's a thought. I can solve other problems too. That's when the whole relationship changed. Right there. I was there for the customer, irregardless of how he treated me. That's what I call a hidden moment of truth. You don't always know these moments are occurring. You have to act like every engagement with your customer, every interface is that hidden moment of truth. Check your ego at the door. Put that customer first. I get it, it's hard. Here's a guy for 3 weeks didn't want to have anything to do with me. But he's my customer. And guess what happens if there's no customers? That means there's no work. And if there's no work or there's no projects to manage, we'll go back to that question. Why do we need project managers? Don't. We talk about quality surveys, looking at what makes a customer happy. We talk about these hidden moments of truth. What I say is that you could do all the surveys you want. Some customers only knock once. But what does that mean? It means that if they're not happy with the work, Darlene, you're doing, they may not fill out a quality survey and give you a 3 or a 4 and tell you exactly what you did or how you can improve. Guess what they do? They don't spend their money with you. And do they always tell you what you can improve? No. Every time you have bad service, do you feel an obligation to tell that service provider exactly what they did or how they can improve? Always? You just don't go. Some knock only once. You wouldn't use a hammer on a screw, or a wrench, or a drill bit on a nail. Would you? No. Isn't that what we do in the industry? If you're like me, tools that I first learned when I started using computers, the word processor, a spreadsheet, and a graphics program. Those are what I call everyone's comfort tools. And what do we, people, everyone, not just project managers, try to do with our comfort tools?
We use them for everything.
We use them for everything. So I'm not here to sell you Microsoft project licenses. I don't make money selling projects. But I'm here to tell you your schedules cannot be in Word, PowerPoint, or Excel. I'll say that again. Your schedules cannot be in Word, PowerPoint, or Excel. Why? It's the wrong tool. Why?
Static.
They're static. They're not dynamic. They don't move. They don't change. It's about the relationships. The irony I see is the people who hold on to that Excel. They might put in nice little colors, put in resources, start, finish states. What do they do their darndest to make them look like? project. Why? Because it's their comfort tool.
Comfort zone thing.
It's their comfort zone.
Also because it doesn't tell you bad news.
The problem with Excel is as things change, nothing else changes. There's no trickle effect. Even if you use project, if you use it in the wrong manner. By doing what? Hard coding of dates. You could also, using the right tool, the wrong way. What do you think the biggest objection is to using project? A learning curve. I hear that all the time. I think I can just do things quicker in Excel. And I don't disagree. You've never used project. You could do things quicker in Excel. But the third, fourth project that you do in project, you do it just as quick. I can. I've been doing it for a while. And you can also. What's the next thing I probably hear?
It
Other
doesn't give you
reasons.
the right schedule.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't give you the right schedule. You're going past the date that the customer wants it.
Oh, so that's not a tool thing. Yes.
One of the problems with Excel is you can't model. Well,
Right.
you can, but it's a lot harder and time consuming, whereas with project you can model and run iterations based on various variables. That really,
The answer is about the iterations and the modeling. Absolutely.
You can visualize courses of action easier.
But I'm talking why we don't want to use the tool. What are the pushbacks? What I get, I'm sorry?
Licensing.
Licensing, use that too.
That's a big problem. I work for a big company. They don't want to license it.
Which is scary. If you've got a full-time title, job, role as a project manager, and you're in an org that doesn't want to pay for the tool, that's
No, not for me, for others.
Oh,
Like
for
my
others.
stakeholders to be able to use it and to be able to understand it and read it. So yeah.
yeah. That I've heard that as well. Here's a quick trick for that: it's just PDF order reports. But what I'll hear a lot of is management doesn't want to look at the reports from project. Okay, that's what I hear. Two things. One, as you get more familiar, you can make those reports look more like what they want. But granted, you'll never get to where some management wants. I worked for a PMO. There was maybe 15 or 20 of us that reported into this director. And you know what he had us do? He had us prepare one Microsoft PowerPoint Gantt chart per project. And every week, you would give him that Gantt chart and show him how everything was doing. What I say is if your customer wants their status reported on a napkin, give them a napkin. What you cannot assume is what you use to manage your project and what you use to report have to be in the same tool. What do you think was dangerous about that organization that has reporting status on a Gantt chart?
It's probably getting what he wants to see or what he thinks he wants to see.
Getting what he wants to see.
And he's only looking at a snapshot.
I'm sorry?
Versions.
Version. You could do V1, 1.0. You could move the boxes. And that's what we have to do. Anytime something shifted, you would have to move the diamonds to the right. You have to check whatever else should move.
Gantt chart doesn't show cost.
I'm sorry?
Gantt chart doesn't show cost.
Correct. We also had financials, which uncover some other issues as well. Do you suppose any of those 20 project managers were using anything but that one Gantt chart to manage their projects? What percentage of those 20 PMs do you think that was it? That was all they had? It was scary. 70%, right, of projects fail. Absolutely. Absolutely. They move a diamond, and then they have to mentally figure out, okay, if the implementation moved out, what else? Where was that trickle effect? They're doing it themselves. I have no problem if your management requires these Gantt charts or these pipeline charts that PowerPoint now produces. But get your numbers from a real tool behind the scenes. For that circumstance, I created a report right out of the project that gave me all the dates that I just copied over into his Gantt chart. But I had something behind the scenes. Don't have to manage from the same report, the same tool that you give to your customer or your management. So I'm from New York, right? Gerson introduced me, originally from New York. My wife is from Brazil. And we have 3 children. My oldest, Sean, he was born in Connecticut. Andrew, my middle son, he was born in southern Florida, in Miami. And my daughter, Adriana, in northern Florida, in Jacksonville. It became the joke that where you were born meant whether you were warm or cold-blooded. We were planning a winter trip to Ohio. I have family out there. A couple weeks before, I'm taking my 2 boys to the supermarket, the grocery store. They're in the back seat of my car, maybe 4 or 5 years old. And I could hear them talking to each other. I hear, Sean, you don't understand. I'm going to be cold in Ohio because I was born in Dad's Ammy. He was born in Dad's Ammy. I had to stop the car, pull over, and I said, Andrew, what? Where do you begin with that? I said, what did you say? He says, Dad, I'm going to be cold in Ohio because I was born in your Ammy. Oh. I had said Miami. He understood my Ammy. It's important that when interfaces and handoffs talk to each other. My wife is from Brazil, and we've gone down there about 3 or 4 times so far. She's from this little village in the Amazon, off the Madeira River, which is a tributary off the Amazon River. We tried flying to her village one time. Someone shaking that it doesn't work. Just unreliable. So to get down there, you got to take a plane out of Miami to the capital of the Amazon, which is Manaus. 10 years ago, to get to her village, you had to spend 2 nights, 3 days on this boat that looks like it came from the Huckleberry Finn stories. 3 days, 2 nights to get to her village. And every few hours it stopped. Sometimes it picked up people, sometimes bananas, sometimes watermelons. We happen to be in the first class accommodations, but there were those. Second, you're in a hammock, just with the people on one level. Third, all hammocks, and that's where they're storing the bananas and the watermelon. 3 days to get to her place. Now, they have a fast boat. 17 hours. I'm talking a bus on the water. Nowhere to walk around, just an aisle. Maybe a bar at the back. So picture that with 3 kids at the time, ages 6 and under. We watched 3 movies in Portuguese that neither of my kids understood. And I'm going to tell you this, if you think the scenery will save you, no. It's nice for maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. After that, it's just the riverbank. Promise you that. So we go down there every so often. And of course, there's her village, and then there's the jungle. We go into the jungle one day, and I love trying new foods. Exotic fruits is what I really like, and I like cashews. So my wife, she hands me what you see up there, which is a cashew fruit. She says, try this. So I bite into that cashew fruit, eat it up. Unbelievable. The best tasting fruit I've ever tried. And what does it taste like? There's no comparison. That's how you'll find a lot of the fruit from South America. There's no American comparison. Unbelievable. I said I also like cashew nuts, right? So what do you think I did right after I ate the fruit? See a little thing on the top? I said, great, this is my chance to get to try a fresh, raw cashew nut. So I bit into the cashew nut. Out oozed this white, creamy liquid that was highly toxic, numbed my lips, my tongue, my throat almost immediately. That's when I learned most cashews, they roast them. They roast away the toxic liquid. Eat this, not that. When you're defining your scope, it's just as important to define not just what is in scope, but what's not. What I find a lot is people like to talk about what they agree upon. This is the scope. Do you agree? Yeah, we're good. They don't want to have those difficult conversations. You understand, we're not handling this. That's out of scope. This is what you paid for. This is what you said you wanted. Do you agree? Or, we're going to build the house. The foundation is your responsibility. We need it by March 1st, or it delays your project. Do you agree? I've had those conversations, folks. They're not as difficult as we make them out to be. But I promise you, if you're not having those discussions, if you're not talking about what is not in scope, it will bite you later down the line. The absence of no is not a yes. The absence of no in some cultures means no, we don't agree. You need to confirm in the affirmative, yes, this is what we agree to deliver, this is what we expect. I say it's like Detective Columbo. Does anyone remember Detective Columbo? What did he always have? One more question. One more question. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, most of the times, was it really a question? No. Sometimes I play it stupid. Help me here. You want this rolled out, you want us to start June 1st, but you need to do this. Show me how that's going to work. I'm confused. When are you getting that shipment? Dive into the specifics. If you don't, it will bite you later down the line. if we look at our portfolio or our strategy as companies, if any of you are involved in setting the direction for your company or your organization, or maybe you even manage a customer account, we get involved with managing our strategy when we look at our customer account. I'm talking about, where do I want to go with this customer? What do I want to expand upon? Where do I think my team is strong in? If you look at your portfolio, that determines your strategy. How can you say, we are going after this market, and I look at your portfolio and you got all these other projects that don't align to your strategy? I say the biggest way to determine if organizations are really just lying to themselves, if you take that project, that highly profitable project, can you turn it down because it doesn't align to your strategy? What do you do? That's the truest way to look at someone's strategy. Because there is no strategy of, we just take everything that's highly profitable. Or maybe that is your strategy. Then throw away your mission statement, make that it. It's just as important to look at what's out of scope, what's not in your portfolio, as what is. What I see a lot of are what I call status reporters. Some of you may know what I'm talking about already. Today I'm red. Last week I'm yellow. And they also tend to be those folks who then walk away, as if their whole job were just to tell me I'm red or yellow. That's a status reporter. They're always looking at the present or the past. You want to be what I call the psychic plus. The psychic uses the tools and the process to predict where they're going to be in the future. The plus part is they don't just predict the future, they solve those problems before they occur. Sometimes the customer has no clue that they even had a problem. That's the plus part. I was managing a project. We were maybe 50, 75% completed. And my manager gives me a call. He says, Nick, sounds like everything's going good. Customer's happy. Yeah, yep, we're on target. Financials are looking good. He says, yeah. And after the chit chat, he says, Nick, I need something. Maybe you guys have heard this. I need to steal some cycles. I thought, what? Where are you getting that I may even have some free cycles to steal? Has anyone heard that? Steal some cycles. It was almost as if there was this assumption that my project were on schedule, and it wasn't because of the hard work or effort I was putting in. I say he almost thought that there was this magical fairy, pixie dust wielding fairy, just magically putting my project into place. Steal some cycles. There was no assessment of whether I had the time or not. Things are going smooth. You must be free. You must not have a lot to do. Your project is going so well. Does anyone have a manager or a boss who thinks like that? Not anymore. What I say is you should take that as a compliment. You see, people outside of our profession, when they see a project going well, they're wondering what you're doing, why they need you. So get the irony here. Do a great job, have management wonder why they need you. That project is on autopilot. You're like the swan. from the surface, from the outside, you just glide gracefully across the water with little effort. That's how we look from the outside. Now, we all know underneath the water, behind the scenes, you, the project manager, you might be paddling like crazy. And you are. But it's in a proactive manner. So your greatest reward for doing a good job, it's going to be more work. Take it as a compliment. I want you to think back also to your last successful project. You're doing your lessons learned. Did anyone at that meeting stand up and say, you know, we were successful. I'm not really sure what we did, how we got here. Wow, it just sort of happened. No, because success doesn't happen by accident. You have to plan for success. Proactively plan for success. Be the Psychic Plus. Pilots are known for their pre-flight checklist, right? Well, after the plane's in the air, they don't shut all the gauges off, do they? No. Well, I hope they don't. Are you flying blind? A lot of project managers will say to me, Nick, my plan has thousands of tasks. You can't expect me to put them all in project, or I can't look at everything. You're not supposed to. Exception management. If you have 1,000 tasks in your plan, you cannot, should not spend 1,000th of your time each week on each task. That's what exception management is all about. That's what looking at the critical path is all about. Which tasks, if there's a delay, will impact my success, my milestones, my deliverables. But it goes beyond just critical path or critical tasks. If you just look at critical path, that does not look at one key ingredient. You have to take your plans and merge those with your resource availability. Do not assume resources are just available whenever you need them, whenever you want them. Once you've merged that with your resource availability, their calendars, you get the critical chain. People, resources can be just as critical to watch as tasks, resource availability. I urge you, when you're running your projects, create filters, create ways to not have to look at 1,000 tasks, because you can't. Where should you spend your time? We look at, question? We look at the forecast and the baseline. What am I expecting to deliver, and what did the customer ask for? You're comparing those two. And guess what happens when there's a delta? You need to manage that together with your customer. Sometimes they have tasks to do. Sometimes their tasks will cause delay in their own deliverables. You need to educate your customers. Once they sign that contract or authorize the charter, those customers are not just customers. They're also part of the team. And you need to take that hat off of them and educate them on their new role. Otherwise, you'll make it happen, get it done. You'll get what I call the Jedi mind trick. And it's all about that trickle effect. It's about looking at changes, what if analysis, what if I change this today, what does that mean for us? That's being a Psychic Plus. With all this talk on different methods and all the planning that we're talking about, sometimes I'll hear about the inflexibility of certain methods and procedures or methodologies. And I think flexibility is key, whether you're using Agile, waterfall, rolling wave, or even what they used to call spirals. Flexibility is adaptability is key. Don't confuse planning with being inflexible. Waterfall is not inflexible because you have to plan into the future. You could plan in different levels of detail. And there is change and adaptability built in. Now I'm going to say something that's probably going to make you question whether I've ever had any project management experience, ever. I admit it, I love change requests. I think they're awesome. Are you a disbeliever now? Why? Well, for one, being in sales, it's cha-ching, it's more money. And what I always have to do, always have to preface or throw in my disclaimers, we're not out there trying to milk the customer. But if I sold the customer a 5-bedroom house and they want another bedroom, yes, it's a change request and they're going to pay more money. Now, you as project managers, that might be your job. Your delivery, you're out there. So I think change requests are awesome. Means the customer doesn't have to know everything they want from the beginning. It means they could change their minds. It allows you to be flexible. There's no planning your entire project from the beginning and you have to deliver everything because day one you said so. It's called a change request. I'm referring to what I call solicited and unsolicited. One, the customer coming to you and saying, hey, I know you're not supposed to do that install in New York, but I want you to add that to the plan. Fine, absolutely. We'll build it in, give them a change request. What I had a portfolio, we had probably 15 different project managers. What I would tell them, giving work for free does not take a genius. Anyone could do it. Anyone could make that change request go away. Just doing the work, called scope creep, not filling out the form. The hard part is putting that form in front of the customer. I get it. You want that 6th bedroom. Here you go. It's going to cost you another 50 grand, 75 grand. Them signing it, and guess what? And they still like you. And they still appreciate that you're on the project. And they still want to work with you. That takes finesse. That takes the art of project management. Just throwing it in because they asked for, there's no art there. You're selling yourselves short. And what's the catch? Why, if I were the customer, should I not expand my scope? It's free, right? If I'm not on a time and materials contract and I just keep expanding the scope and you don't stop me, oh, I want a jacuzzi, I want a pool in the backyard, you're giving it away for free. What I used to tell PMs on my team is learn how to have those difficult conversations in a non-confrontational, nice manner. You can have those. When I say I love change requests and what I was saying with, you probably might not believe me, what I most hear is the change request process in most organizations. Does it work well? Is that an understatement?
If there is a process.
If there is a process.
Sometimes it's a difficult one.
Difficult. very laborious. A lot of people, a lot of paperwork, a lot of approvals.
Sometimes you have to have an extra meeting behind that.
I used to manage, I had a project that was about 250 sites that we were working at, and picture the customer, we were at the customer's site, and they were changing things on the fly, or they were not performing their duties when they should. And I get a call, yeah, we need to do all the power or the fiber trail, the support work at this site. The guys are there now. We need that change request right away. There's not one organization I worked in that could support that kind of turnaround. I'm talking 2 weeks is too long to get that paperwork turned around. I'm talking hours. You got to streamline that process. You got to get familiar with that process. You got to learn how to work it. Because after that crew left, now I got cost to fly the whole team back out there that were already there. Or my project might be delayed 2 weeks just because of what? A piece of paper? Change requests allow you to be flexible, adaptable to what your customer wants. Learn the process, embrace it. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to change their mind whenever they bring up a change. Embrace it. I want you to think of your project as your business. You own the P&L for your project. And if you don't, or if you don't have that data, I implore you to go back to your management and get that data. Whether you run internal projects and you just need the cost data, or external, run it as if it's your own business. When I talked about innovation being solving customer requirements creatively, that's business development. It's nothing different from sales, business development, and innovation. You, the project manager, you're out there. You're there working with that customer. They're dealing with you, not the sales team. Coming to you with needs. Think of it as your business. What I see a lot of is the word no. So you could probably understand the one word a sales guy doesn't want to hear, right? Is no. And in all fairness, I tried to stay away from that word, even in delivery. The customer asks you, can you pull in the schedule by a month? What do you tell them?
Let me get back to you. Let me check.
Let me check. Let me get back to you. That's a ton better than the word no. What does the word no mean?
Not a chance.
Not a chance. Something else. What are you doing? What are you doing by telling the customer no?
Stopping the conversation.
There you go. You're making a decision for them. It's not your decision. It's not your decision. Could we pull the schedule in by a month? Absolutely. I got to fly in a team from Europe, maybe one from South America, put them there, and guess what? Your costs will go up. And the risk that we won't complete on time may go up as well. You got other risks in there because I got to train this other team. They have to work together. The schedule, right? And it's going to cost you more. What would you like to do? It's their decision. It's their business. Use the words yes, but. Yes, but. Yes, we could pull the schedule in, but it's going to cost you more money. The risk may go up, and we may have to reduce the scope. What would you like to do? You're not there to make decisions for your customer. You're there to inform them of options. You are the forgotten Salesforce. You're out there running a project. I in sales could come along and say, have you thought about this, Mr. Customer? And you could say the exact same thing. And they're going to pay attention to your opinion much better. So bring that forth. Help grow, expand your business. Help it adapt to what the customer now wants. I say the new project manager, the new modern project manager, they're an expert in project management. They lean on their architects, and they're a team. They look for the technical guidance from their architects. And I've heard, yeah, Nick, at my org, we don't have an architect. As a project manager, I don't care about titles. I care about roles on my project. If I want a technical architect, I'm going to create it. Find the lead guy in that technology. If you've got a couple technologies, form a group with a couple of them. Lean on them for the hows. You control the business. Speak the language of the business. It's about options, options, and options. Come into a problem. What are my choices? What could we do? Look at the do nothing option. Indecision is a decision. And when I say look at the do nothing and indecision, those are not the same thing. Looking at the do nothing option is a conscious decision that the risk is just not there. We should just do nothing. And if it happens, we'll deal with it. That's a conscious effort. Indecision is bringing your options to a committee and waiting 3 weeks for a decision you needed yesterday. You got to cut through that. The pros and the cons. Recommendations. I had project managers tell me everything that's going on, all the different options. That's nice. What would you do? Well, I can't give you that answer, and then maybe just repeat the options again. I'm looking for something more. What would you do? You know my situation. What are your thoughts? Now, I may not follow your recommendation, and that's my choice, right? If I'm the customer, I don't have to follow your opinion or your recommendation. But if you're well regarded with that customer, they want to hear your opinion. They want to know what's in your mind. I say avoid diarrhea of the mouth. Have you ever met that person, when you ask them a question, they spew out more data, as if data is a substitute for information? Well, I talked to Susie. Susie said I got to get with marketing. Joe says I got to do this. And what happens? Your head spins. And at the end, you look that same person in the eye and say, so what? What are we going to do? Data is not information. The new project manager, the new modern project manager, avoids passing the monkey. Have you ever met that person who said, I just need to talk to you for 5 minutes? They start telling you about this problem that they're having on their project or their area of expertise. And when your conversation's done, it feels like you now own the problem and you're there to solve it. Customers don't appreciate that. Avoid passing the monkey. Look at the options, provide a recommendation. They could provide a decision, but it's your project, your business. We had a large customer who bought a bunch of equipment, and in that deal, the sales team said, you get a free project manager for 10 months. That became me. So I show up on site and say, oh, okay, I'm here. What would you like me to do? And they were putting together at that time, it was the early 2000s. You ever hear of best of breed? Best of breed is this idea that you pick the best functional products and then you piece them all together. They were building an OSS system, an operations support system in that manner. We had 12 different vendors, mostly paid on a time and materials basis, and they had 12 separate products that we had to piece together. Huge systems integration deal. So I was going to be on the advisory committee to help run this program. That very first week, I'm in a program meeting, and I could hear the customer tell one of the vendors, again, paid on a time and materials basis, you need to cut $50,000 out of your price. With not a blink of an eye, like that. They said, no problem, we'll be done 2 weeks quicker on this task. And then we just went on to the next topic. Now I knew why I was there. I said, whoa, let's go back. Let's go back there. I said, you paid on a time and materials basis? Yes. So you're just going to work faster, quicker, more efficiently? If you tell me yes, why weren't you doing that in the first place? Are you giving me the same scope? You going to cut anything out? Nope. The quality's still going to be there? Nope. Same. You're going to bring in extra resources, and you're not going to charge me. Thank you, right? Nope. How are you getting this done $50,000 less? It was the Jedi mind trick. Work harder, work faster. If there's nothing of substance there, it's not going to happen. What we ended up agreeing to was those extra resources that they would bring on were going to be free. They were going to work nights, they were going to work weekends, and not charge us. Now, I will say, they did knock off $50,000, but do you think they were on time? No. No. Make it happen, get it done, work harder. You cannot just agree to that without understanding the implications. It's called a Jedi mind trick. I've got 3 children. So SpongeBob is big in our family. SpongeBob and Patrick were going for a walk. Going for a walk in Bikini Bottoms. That's where SpongeBob lives. And off in the distance, they spot a bear. And SpongeBob walks over to the log, puts his leg up, and starts tying his shoe. Patrick, his trusty sidekick, looks down. He starts laughing. SpongeBob, what are you doing? Do you really think by tying your shoe tighter that you can outrun the bear? SpongeBob looks at him. So, Patrick, old buddy, old pal, I don't need to outrun the bear. I need to outrun you. Look at your team. If the risk and the rewards are not evenly spread across your team, the first sign of trouble, people will be tying their shoes and running for the door. If some people have more to gain from your project being a success, you will not get that buy-in from your team. You will not get that commitment. When we talk about bringing out the best of people, it's looking at their what I call the WIFM, the what's in it for me. At a personal level, what do they want? What's important for them? How does this project intersect with their WIFM? How will making your project a success help them? That's what leadership is about. It's enabling project success through others. And how do you think you get that? How do you think you get people to want to do well on your project? They need to gain. How does this help them, maybe career-wise? Sell them on that idea. This will be great for your career because X, Y, Z. That's how you get teams to perform. And of course, it needs to be truthful, but that's the what's in it for me. If you don't do this, what do you think you're going to have? Do you think you'll have a team? I don't think so. I say you're just going to have a group of SpongeBobs. It's only business. How many of you use that phrase? It's only business. Any of you use that? To separate business and personal? Have you ever had an issue, maybe with your insurance or your TV provider? Any issue where you didn't see the other person on the other line, on the other side of the phone, where there was no relationship built? How easy is it to become agitated, for the situation to get escalated? Very easy. What I say is, it is personal. Make it personal. Become a person in the eyes of the customer. On my projects, I don't want to be Nick, the project manager from Cisco or GDT. I want to be Nick, the guy who's got 3 kids, one who does youth soccer, baseball, just like your kid does. My wife is from Brazil, maybe your wife is from another country. Got something. Make it personal. I can't tell you how many dinners I've been to where I've seen people talk nothing but work. Do you really think that that customer is going out with you for dinner to hear more about the project or more about your work environment? Relax. Get to know them. Get to know them at a personal level. I say, you don't have to be friends with your customer to like them. But you do have to like your customer. If you don't like them, or you don't think you ever can like your customer, you know what I say? Get a new customer. So I work from home on the customer site. And one day I'm working from home, my office, and I hear this loud banging noise. Da 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 da. What the heck is da da da? What the heck is that? So I get out of my office, go to the front door, I walk around, look up on the roof, and I see this squirrel. Maybe not that guy, but I see a squirrel chewing on the vent pipe that goes to the bathroom right next to my office. Do some research to find that squirrels like the lead taste in the pipes. And they will chew and gnaw on pipes over and over again, causing damage to not just the pipe, but water to come into your roof. They chew so much that their teeth get rounded down and they can't eat, they can't chew food, and eventually they die. They die from doing the same thing over and over again. 70% of projects fail 20 years ago. 70% of projects fail now. We need to change. We need to change. We need to be more than just the squirrel. We need to make that transition to leadership. We need to understand our jobs are not just preparing these pretty nice project schedules. Wow, I produced this schedule. Here, what do you think? Nice, frame it. Frame it and put it in your office. Who cares? How's your schedule doing? How's your project doing? That's not why we're around. It's consistent results. Customers are not just looking for results here and there. They want to be able to count on you. If I go with your firm, if I go with you, Linda, specifically, do I sleep at night? Do I know that my project is in good hands? That's different than just a successful project. Can I give you something and you deliver? We're more than squirrels. So today you've already heard a few different presentations, workshops, and we talk about success of the project. I think we want to talk about success of this event that you're at, right? Define success for you. Define change for you. I implore you, when you go back to work on Monday, try something new. Isn't that why you're here? To learn something new. Now, you don't have to agree with everything I've said or everything you're going to hear or already have heard, but I urge you, get a few nuggets here or there. Monday, try something new. I just released my new book 2 months ago. It's got some Brazilian chocolates there. So for those of you who are asking why Brazilian chocolates, I thought I'd bring a little bit back from Brazil. Chocolates are out of this world. So is the book. If you like the conversational style of my discussion, that's how the book is as well, just like we're having a conversation here. So if you enjoy this, please stop by, grab a chocolate, grab a book. I appreciate being here. Thank you.